NorCal. 209 King of Comedy. It's Rick without the K. James presents, in my opinion, podcast.
So our next question is good first date ideals. Now, for me, this is actually kind of important because one of the things I notice a lot with girls at first when you're dating them is, and it's kind of a pet peeve with me, where would you like to go to dinner? I don't care. What would you like to do? I don't care. You want to do this? If you want to. I'd like them to have a little bit more say. Later they tell you every fucking thing you're going to do, right? Yeah. Once you've been together for a while. But you're folding your clothes wrong, you're putting this in the wrong spot. But I mean, at first it's like, you can't get any input. So to me, and you brought this up earlier, off camera, it feels to me like as a man, we're responsible for good first date ideals. And for me, you know me, as a first date, especially this point in my life, I was different years ago. But at this point in my life, I'm not spending a lot of money on your ass. We're going to go have a cup of coffee, and we're going to see if we get along. And if we get along, then I'm going to take you out to dinner, I'm going to spoil you, I'm going to start to do stuff. But if we go have a cup of coffee, and I'm like, God, I can't be with this bitch for 10 minutes, right? I'm not going to go take you to Red Lobster and drop $100 on you. I mean, you go to a really nice place and have a drink. I went to a place the other day, and it was like $14 for a drink. I mean, could you imagine taking a girl out on a first date, having 2 or 3 drinks, having a nice lobster or steak meal or something, and dropping $120 on a girl, and you can't stand the bitch 5 minutes into the fucking meal? Yeah. I mean, so for to me, a great first date ideal is to keep things calm, find out if you know each other. Unless you met your old friends or something like that, it's different. But keep
it these coffee dates as a first date?
Yes, yes, and keep it casual at first. And that's where I'm at now. Keep it casual at first. We can, if we're meant to be, if we're into each other, the second date is where we can push it. We can go on a trip to Tahoe, spend the whole weekend together. We can do a lot of different things. But I want to make sure there's some chemistry first. I'm going to start with you on this one, Jay. As far as a first date goes, your good first date ideals, how you think it should be handled?
And maybe not because you've been with your woman forever, but you've got a son who's coming of age, right?
Yeah.
So do you kick game to him and like, hey, son, this is...
yeah, about that. I'll always say somewhere where you can sit down and talk. I think the first date should always be somewhere where you can have that intimate moment. Because if I'm spending money on you or not, I don't care if we're sitting at the park or we in the restaurant or whatever, I want time to be in your ear. I want time to go back and forth and really see who you are and get that intimate moment. You know what I'm saying? So I always tell mine, always make it about you. Because when you do stuff with friends the first time or something, you ain't really reading them. Because then they're trying to be cool to the friends or they worried about other elements. Get them alone, talk to them, you know what I'm saying? Something where you can really dig their brain, you know what I'm saying? And see who they are, if they even worth a second, a third, a fourth, or a call back, you know what I'm saying? So anything that's intimate is good with me. But then also it depends on how you met them. You know, what kind of vibe you guys met on. Because sometimes the first date is, hey, let's go out and do something fun. You know what I'm saying? I always want to do this, and I found someone who's adventurous. Let's do it. You know, that might be a hell of a first date. Because a lot of things do dictate about how the first date was. Right. You could win or lose them in the first date too. Especially if, you know, my son always going after the ones who look the best. Like, he always got these cute, you know, put together little girls. I'm like, okay, so you gotta do something to impress them at the same time. The first date can't be me just talking to you stuttering either, you know what I'm saying? Like, it gotta be something that they will be like, oh, that was a really good first date. I mean, you know, because they want it. You gotta make them what they want a second one. It's not just about you, but they gonna want, you know, a second one too, so.
Yeah, your son's a good looking stud too. So my question is you're 40 now, and you got a son who's out there, and you know, good-looking kid.
Are we going to say my age? That'd be
sorry, man. Sorry, man.
It's gonna be heavy. Nah, no, I was your ass.
And so,
gonna be looking at me like, man, he look like 35. Oh, you 40?
You look good, man. You insecure about that? So I'm the old man on the panel. But my thing is, do you notice a difference between, you know, when you started dating, when you were younger, were your first dates, and your kid's first dates? Have you noticed a difference of how he does or what he? Because there's so much media involved, and there's so much text each other and stuff. We didn't do that when we were younger. So what's the difference there?
I think it's a trip because nowadays a lot of them are meeting online. Like even my older daughter, I got a 20-year-old daughter, and she the same. She met her boyfriend online. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's a different element game. You know, the way they're meeting, the way they're kind of putting together, how much they're talking before even the first date. It's like they talked and did back and forth so much, or looked through each other's social media so much before the first date. It's not like when we first dated somebody else, like, I don't know nothing about you. I just know you look good and asked you out. Like, now you know all the friends you have in common. I know the things the trips you went on the last 5 years because I looked on your social media. So, yeah, I think the game was a lot different, but at the same time, I think it's a lot more fake. You know, because people are putting so much more out there because of social media. You don't really know who you're meeting. And plus, you meet their representative anyway. When you first
Exactly.
And so with you, we're going to make it a 2-point question. We're going to piggyback off that. Not only we're going to talk about good first date ideals, but you also have 2 good-looking young boys that are right starting the dating. So start off with your good ideals for you, and then go into the difference between them and you.
Again, I thought this was a good question because it was all guys on the panel. Sometimes we try to get a female in here, right? And I thought it was a good idea because as men, we're the ones who are obligated to show you the good time.
Absolutely.
Because we need the repeat invite, right? So I've told my kids, you know, not to spend money. It's about, like he said, it's about spending the time, the intimacy. And I truly believe, I've told them, don't take a girl. A horrible first date is the movies. A woman wants to talk your fucking ear off the first date. So when you take her to a movie, she ain't gonna tell you everything, her biggest dream, her favorite color, her favorite dog that she wishes to have, all that dumb shit that you gotta hear as a man to get the vagina, right?
I'm thinking something stupid. I'm thinking the movie's the perfect first date because my reason is you're setting a precedence. Bitch, I want you to be quiet.
So I tell my kids where I believe like 2 good dates, and hey, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But is like a picnic. I think if you do a picnic, a woman thinks it's very thoughtful. You get the time to sit there and be intimate with them, talk to them. You ain't got to fucking like, you know, smother them or anything, but just enough to be like, man, he was nice enough to pack me something, take me to the park on a nice day, you know, if the weather permitted, right?
On a picnic, do you think that starts off too personal? Because to me, that's pretty romantic and intimate, unless you know them a little bit already.
I think if it's, but I think that's the difference. Is I tell my kids, you got to warm enough that you got to set yourself separately from the rest of the crowd that's been taking them out. So if you set that date up, or something as simple as, I think I've told both my kids, an amusement park is a good fucking first date. I said, you both are having fun, you have to stand in line,
and you can still talk.
Means you have to talk every time you're waiting on a ride. Like, that's a good date, especially for their age too. So they're getting to know one another, they're getting to go have fun, they get to, you know, ride on that little extra whatever it is, so they can take a picture and have that together or whatever, and then they can both be like, oh man, we both went to Great America, that was our first date, or some shit.
You were from the cheap date to the
Yeah.
hell of money to take you to Great America.
Well, yeah, but Great America is like that. Even if you don't work out with the girl, at least you're gonna still have a good time. You know what I mean? Like, so if it doesn't work out, then again, if it's one of those where if she turns out to be horrible, that's where you're like, bitch, now you gotta find a way home 70 miles away.
But
You want that bathroom, Alex?
you were talking about intimacy, and to me, that's why I talk about having coffee the first date, because to me, on a coffee date, there's one thing you have to do is talk. You can't sit there and not talk. You have to focus on the conversation, because there is nothing else but the conversation. And that's why I enjoy that. Now, a picnic's great and stuff, but to me, that's almost something I do like on a second date after I knew them. But how about the difference between, like Jay was talking earlier, as far as media, and I'm talking about Facebook and shit like that, and dating apps and stuff, because they didn't have dating apps when I was young. They didn't have all that kind of shit. So
I think it does. It is a game changer for them, but you also got to understand, for that generation, they're not real talkative to begin with. I think both of them, you know, would rather text message than talk to one another, and that's why you got to bring each other out of your shell. You know, where to piggyback what you said, I've I've told my kids too, because my oldest, the last time he took a girl on a date, he took her on like fucking 3 dates before, where I was like, dude, he miniature golfing, bowling, all in the same fucking date. Where I was like, son, you need to slow down, like
mega date.
Yeah, where I'm like, you need to focus on one date, and that was enough for you. Because I feel like I've told him, I've made that joke where I'm like, you know, a woman knows when she's gonna sleep with you the first time. So if you check the bottom of her ankle and it's hairy, she ain't fucking you that first day. She's making sure she shaved, she's got a matching bra and panties on, she's doing all that shit the first time because she already had it set in her mind. So I say, drive through McDonald's, get something off the Dollar Menu, and take that bitch home. Like, don't spend your money on that because she knows when it's gonna happen. You know when she's extra cute, and she's extra, you know what I mean? First time normally doesn't happen out of, oh, whatever, or maybe, you know, my kids aren't old enough to be in a bar just yet, but, you know, so it's something like that where I try to tell them, yes, spend some time with them, but don't go overboard with it, because
so
again,
are you coaching them to get like a relationship, like date for a relationship, or are you coaching them like date to get some booty?
Oh, that's a good point.
No, I think I'm coaching them for both. I mean, and I understand in their generation, you know, sex is like a fucking handshake. You know what I mean? Like it took us more work, and I think for them, like a hand job is nothing to them. So I feel like they're more susceptible to get ass than we were. We had to work at it a little bit. Where it's cool for a woman to sleep with a bunch of dudes nowadays. You know, Cardi B is the greatest thing ever nowadays, and every 16-year-old wants to walk around and say she got a WAP because it's cool, right? So that's why I'm glad I don't have fucking girls, right? So I think with that, so I train them, but I think they're both learning that to be respectable, and it is that it's that respect them if they respect themselves. And if they don't, take advantage of that shit.
See, mine's 16, and I tell them right now to have fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, date them for the experience, date them to get more experience, but don't find the one right now. You know what I'm saying? Unless she just hits you as like, wow, she's the one. Because really, I want mine to go to college and find one that actually trying to do something for themselves. You know what I'm saying? And find one that actually on a path and have him more together. You know what I'm saying? Like, to go his path. Because you know, right now, I'm like, you know, date, that's fine, but this is experience. This is not to find the one. This is not to find, you know what I'm saying, any of that. Just get some experience, how to talk to them, how to make your moves, you know what I'm saying? So if you mess up this one, you be like, oh, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll let him to the next one. You know, because I don't want him to find, not saying it will happen, but I'm not, like, find the one right now. You know what I'm saying? Because half of them, you never know what they're going to be 2 months from now.
And I think I'm the same, where me and my son just had breakfast this morning. We talked about it, you know, because he's lived with a girlfriend for a couple months, and then it didn't work out. But, excuse me. But I tell him, I said, don't look at it as a bad experience. It was a growing experience. Like, now you know what it's like to be with a girl in that way. But it also brought good to it. I mean, I said, look, it got us to move in together. I said, things would be different if you still lived at your mom's house right now. Nothing against his mom, but he's got the freedom here that he goes to work, he does what he wants. I said, would you really be able? Because his mom's got a different dynamic. She's got 2 younger kids that live with her. So she doesn't want fucking someone in and out of the house at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't give a fuck as long as you're doing what you're supposed to do. Because I know you're a grown-ass adult. So it's just a different dynamic as it would be in my house as it would be in hers. And he kind of shook his head and was like, yeah, well. And I said, so, you know, shit didn't work out, but you got the experience of a relationship, and now you know what to look for. And I asked him, I said, what would be the difference you'd make in a relationship? And he goes, that I'd speak up. I'd speak up.
Boy, Charlie Murphy, my main man, Rick James. That's the one you think, the comedian Rick James. Get up.
I can't hear my neighbor crying, I can't breathe.
Please hit the subscribe button down low so you can see all new clips, all new episodes coming to you.